So, hello. Let's see. I actually shot this video in my car, like in the last video, and then my phone ran out of memory right in mid-sentence. And so I had to toss that video and start all over. So in the last two videos, I made commentary about the exercise called Ideal Day. And in this one, I wanted to begin to address the question of why might it be important, or what's the value in sort of having our dreams come true? What's the value in accomplishing all our goals? I prefer the word dreams. What's the value in achieve? So imagine that we do this ideal day thing, and we feel the warmth, and because we feel the warmth and joy inside of us, these things come to be, whether through the magic of manifestation or just through being more relaxed, things come about. Why might that be of value to have our so-called dreams, whether it's more money, more companionship, more friends, better health, whatever it may be? Why might there, what might be the value of that? I wanted to share two stories. One is when I was about, I think, 17 or 18, I read the book Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And so that was more than 3 decades ago. So my memory might be pretty faulty. I haven't gone back to confirm what I'm about to say. So, but so I might be making some things up here. But in the story, this yogi guy, he gets, I don't know, magically transported into some heavenly realm or something with his teacher, and he's given a giant palace, or a giant mansion, a palace with hundreds of rooms, and he's told, this is yours now. And he's a little, I think, shy or bashful about it, and his teacher says, well, I know that you've secretly desired such a palace for yourself deep in your heart, and the way things work is that when you desire things strong enough, they come to be. So here's your gift. Here's your desire has come true. You now have this giant palace to yourself, and it's yours. And something like that. And I can't remember if this is how the story goes, but it's something, what I recall, and I may be wrong about this, is that he walks through this palace and he realizes that the fulfillment of this wish or desire of his, this dream, is quite empty. It doesn't compare to the fulfillment. So he's a yogi, so he talks about God. It doesn't compare to the fulfillment of being close to God. And I think the palace then just disappears. So that's the first story. The second story is a personal story. And that's that I would say that for all of my adult life, from about the age of 14 or 15, I've wanted to be a writer. That was my dream. And so I wrote. From the age of 15 on, I wrote regularly. First major in college was dramatic writing at NYU Tisch School of the Arts. I dropped out, but I continued to write short stories and eventually poetry. I used to go to poetry readings and read my poems, tried submitting them, and then eventually I started writing essays. Then I was introduced to phenomenology, so started doing phenomenology and so on and so forth. And then I became involved in academia, so I started writing academic papers and so on. But anyway, the dream's to be a writer. I became a professor of mathematics and mathematics education, and as some of you know, I ended up quitting my job. Now there's a number of reasons for why I quit, but one of those reasons was so that I could have the time and energy and wherewithal to write. That was my dream after all, and so my dream came true. And it turns out that in the past, I think 7 years, I've published 10 books. One with a publisher, Routledge, and the other self-publishing. Self-publishing just opens the gates. I mean, basically anyone can publish anything at this point. But, by the way, if my phone runs out of memory again, this video may end abruptly, but I'm not going to redo this, so I'll just continue in another video. But, so anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, so 10 books in about 6 or 7 years. I would say the first few books, as I was working on them, it was like a dream come true, fulfilling. A lot of frustration and difficulties, but there's that sense of, wow, my dreams come true. After a couple more books, it's a lot of frustration, a little hard to persevere. Every book for me is an accomplishment. It's like getting a degree. To get a college degree is a lot of hard work and takes a lot of perseverance. And so to finish and complete a book, I think, for me and for many writers, is a monumental accomplishment. And there's a lot of pride in that, a good kind of pride of like, yeah, I'm glad that I stuck it out. But what's been interesting is maybe similar to Yogananda's palace, the dream of the fulfillment of his dream, at some point it starts to ring hollow. And it's not that, oh, I'm so disappointed. It's more that, oh, it's so nice that I got to fulfill my dream and I got to live it fully. And yet, the satisfaction and fulfillment is just as temporary and short-lived as any other satisfaction, as any other pursuit and endeavor that one can find in this world, that one can pursue in this world. And at this point, I've said this for about maybe the past 6 to 9 months, after I published my 5th book in the 5-part series, there was a feeling of, I wonder if I'm done. I still write almost every day, but this attitude of, maybe if I never publish a book, that's okay. I got to live my dream. I got to fulfill my dream or fantasy or whatever it may have been. And there's a satisfaction. It's almost like a snake shedding its skin. I got to live in that skin, but it's shedding, and it's no longer resonant to who I am today. And I'm trying to draw a comparison between these two stories. So going back to Ideal Day, why might it be so important to have a dream, pursue it, and to fulfill it? Maybe one of the reasons is so that we can outgrow them, so that we can experience their short-lived nature, and maybe shed that skin so that we come closer to our hearts, to our innermost sensitivities. And so that's one way of thinking about it. In the Dharma, as I've been taught, in all Dharma practice, there are said to be 3 points. One can think of these 3 points as like 3 goals or 3 targets. And the 3 points can be phrased differently, but they're often phrased, or they've been phrased to me most often as, number 1, the first point is renunciation. The second point is loving kindness or compassion. And the third point is called the view. I'll make a couple of comments about each of these. Renunciation is a weariness with the world, or weariness with samsara. Weariness, a weariness and wariness of pursuing things of this world for self-satisfaction, more or less. That can be for money, for social standing. They can also be worldly things like I want to form a family, or I want to have a particular kind of relationship. All these things, yeah. Things that are outside of us, basically. And the second, loving kindness and compassion, sometimes referred to as skillful means or relative bodhicitta. That's a heart that loves and cares for others. And the third, the view. The view is the view of emptiness, sometimes referred to as absolute bodhicitta, or an awareness or recognition of the dream-like nature of reality. These are the 3 points of practice. Now, so these 3 points are all equally important. So one can cultivate a lot of love and compassion for others, but if there's not enough renunciation, that love and compassion will be fairly unstable. Yeah. So we can easily get attached to things of this world, and if we become attached, our capacity to love becomes compromised. And so the first of these points is renunciation, seeing through the folly of pursuing samsara, and so one can say that one reason for why we might want to pursue our dreams is to produce or to incite the renunciate spirit, the mind that renounces these kinds of pursuits. Yeah, just like Yogananda's dream of having a palace, or my dream of being a writer. That I got to live it to the extent that I would wish for, and it doesn't mean that I'll never write another book and publish it, but it's more, that draw isn't there. Why? Because I got to see and experience that, the fulfillment is equally short-lived as any other pursuit that I've done. And it's not anything bad, it's just more, I got to experience it. Now, that's a very different kind of life. I would say that's a very fulfilling kind of life. That's very different from, let's say, I have these dreams, but I'm so frustrated that they don't happen and they never happen. Yeah, that's a very frustrating kind of life or vision of life. And the other is, I'm going to pursue these dreams, and now that I got them, I'm going to cling to them, and I'm going to make sure that they stay here. Yeah, and so that's a life that kind of gets rigid and old, and I think as the Tao Te Ching says, rigidity is the first indication of death. That something in us begins to die when we begin to cling and hold on to, I've accomplished the dream, so now I'm going to make sure the dream stays here. No, dreams come, they motivate us, we accomplish them, and for many of us, we outgrow them. We shed our skin. So it starts out, it's almost like a trick, right? We get reeled in by, oh my God, I'm going to fulfill my dreams. It's so wonderful. Wow, I can manifest, or I can accomplish these goals and dreams, and I get to live it. And yet we outgrow them. And each time we outgrow them, what happens? This spirit of renunciation grows stronger and stronger in us. Now, what's the purpose of growing this spirit of renunciation? That we can turn toward the Dharma, that we can turn toward some spiritual truth, toward some deeper living. That's what I find, and I think that that's a common trajectory for most people who are able to, in fact, pursue their dreams. And so I had another point again, but I forgot it. I don't have a script. There's nothing on the table here. It's just blank. If I look down, it's because I'm thinking. Anyway, so I'll pause this. It's already over 12 minutes.